Okay, I should make a movie detailing this a little bit more, but every time you make a gang stalking movie and you're gonna bust with video these gang stalkers, whether it's aircraft or people walking by, what I was just telling somebody is that if you don't show your face and explain a little bit about what people are seeing first, they're just gonna think you're a nut, okay? So that's what's important to realize about this. You gotta explain what they're seeing and then show how this is being done. You got to explain it a little bit, because one of the problems is when you're being gang stalked, you're stressed out, you're expecting, people just to see it and go, oh, this is definitely something, when in fact most of the time it just looks like people that are paranoid with some kind of mental illness of some kind. So that's what the story is, and you gotta explain a little bit about what you're seeing first. For instance, in my case, this started when I uploaded my first Reptilian shapeshifter movie to YouTube, and within 15 minutes I had like 7 helicopters over my apartment in Woodland Hills, California, a suburb of Los Angeles, in case you don't know where that is. And so what happened then is that at first I thought it was just a drug bust in my place, and I just didn't think anything of those helicopters. But then they started flying by all the time, like a low flyover with noise and vibration. And then as I was walking, like when I would go for a walk, I would notice these weird black SUVs driving along, and police SUVs as well. And so when that happened, I basically I didn't know what to think of it, and then all of a sudden I had LAPD squad cars lighting up and not pulling me over, but zooming around me. And then, so this happened so much that I bought a dash camera, and then I recorded that when I had a pretty good proof footage of it, because I had 2 of them pull in front of me in less than 5 minutes driving along the same road. They pull in front of me and then turn off. One squad car and one motorcycle. And so I recorded that and then put it with some shapeshifter footage, and at that point that type of harassment stopped, but the air stalking continued and continues to this day, over 3.5 years later of air stalking for uploading Reptilian shapeshifter movies to YouTube, believe it or not. And this is again, it's important to explain what it is, and also to explain that when they do this psychological warfare, torture against people, they do it in such a way, first of all, that it's not easy to prove it. They don't do it obviously, like in front of too many people or too obvious a situation. And furthermore, they'll only do it to people who are generally by themselves, generally on their own, although there is exceptions to that. But they do it so that it's not so obvious. And what I realized about this is that the most that I could really do was record it, try to explain in a rational way so that people can see that I'm rational, and describe the situation, and then show the footage, knowing that there's a lot of people, if not most people, that will take a look at this and say, this guy's just recording any airplanes that fly overhead. There's no proof that he's being buzzed, and there isn't. I mean, over time, I think that there is. I think that if it did go to court, I think there would be a case, because you could see it's just too many, and I don't go looking for these aircraft to fly directly overhead, and especially when I'm coming into an establishment or leaving an establishment. But this is, people would see that, and then they would see that it was real. But on the other hand, police and whoever can just say, no, this guy's paranoid. First of all, the areas where he said that he's being buzzed on purpose or whatever, it's actually, excuse me a second. Oh, sorry. And the police could just say, hey, this is just, this is an area where we fly helicopters on a regular basis. See, it's right along here, the flight path. And, they can just move it over a little bit, because, a lot of places where you walk or where they buzz you are right along flight paths. And also explain in your beginning of your explanation about what this is, account for the skeptic, account for the disbeliever, and say, look, I realize that, for instance, an airplane going by randomly may not have anything to do with me, and because of the gang-stalked, harassed, situation, I may have thought that it was, and it really wasn't. So that can happen, and just be rational and fair about it, you know, and just say, look, the nature of this is brilliant, because any aircraft that flies over, you start to think that it might be a gang stalking buzz. But on the other hand, if you were in my shoes, you would notice there's a pattern to it, and there's a way, and there's something. And there's also, I think other people have commented on this too, I think there's something looking at you, and it, like, you know how when somebody looks at you with interest, and you turn and look at them, because that energy, you know, you just turn and look at them, there's that kind of energy that comes from these things. And so you look up, and you can just kind of, and you can just feel this you know, like this enmity, like they're doing it to you. They're trying to get on your nerve. They're trying to harass you. You know, there's just this feeling as you're walking along. You hear this, or you know, the helicopter buzz, and the way that it passes over. And also, just so you know about this air stalking harassment, when you're seeing the footage of these helicopters, I'm only getting about 1 out of 5 times that they do it to me, okay? Because it's hard to catch. First of all, a lot of times they do it so quickly you don't have time to get the camera out, unless you have the camera on all the time, everywhere you go. You're not going to catch them all. You're only going to catch a few, and in a lot of cases, it's not, the footage really isn't that good, because it doesn't really look for sure like a buzz. It really doesn't. It's not dramatic enough. Doesn't make good enough footage. But you can just, in any case, show it, but try to keep it, you know, edited to at least to keep the visuals interesting. Because what a lot of people do is they record all this boring crap, and then you know, like mumbling, or you know, not explaining everything clearly, like these long pauses and stuff like that. If you don't make the video interesting and watchable, that's another big aspect to it. People aren't going to watch these. Going to say, oh no, one of these idiot people that are paranoid that there's aircraft flying over them. And of course, these reptilians that don't want to be discovered are going to make a bunch of shill people, a bunch of people that are doing it, and they're, you know, they're stupid retards or whatever. They act like stupid retards, and when people see that, they're just going to go, oh, this whole subject is nothing but a bunch of idiots, and not take the whole thing seriously. It's the same thing as the UFO thing. I bet that they probably, to hide that fact, they did all these various things, like, you know, ridicule it, have a bunch of, you know, incompetent, weird, you know, off the wall people talking about it and touting it and stuff, so that the whole subject is discredited among serious people who might be interested in learning about extraterrestrials, for instance. And the whole thing about extraterrestrials is, of course, tied into this whole gang stalking thing, which is, I think it's all part of the same thing. It's all the secrecy. It's all wound up together. And I'm just wrapping up my report now on alien abduction, and it looks more and more to me like, and this is something I've noticed for a long time, is that yes, the universe may be filled with all different kinds of aliens and whatnot, but for whatever reason, here on Earth, all we're getting, when we see UFOs and flying saucers, all we're getting are the demons. They're actually demons with high tech, and the reason why you don't see them that much is because they're phasing out of another dimension, which is still right here on Earth. So in fact, they're actually terrestrial, but just in another dimension. So they say extra dimensional, but it really is a whole different world. And I think that only a few of the advanced aliens, most notably the insectoids, actually have the technology to cross over into this dimension and conduct these abductions, but we don't know what the full purpose is, and I'll discuss that more in my alien abduction report. Getting buzzed. It's a mini by the sound of it. See, I'm getting good at telling the sound of these things. Okay, look, we'll have a squirrel show while we're waiting. Okay, looks like we'll probably get a direct overhead here. Pretty close to it, yep. It's a leaving buzz. See, they time it so that it's when you're leaving, you know, coming or going, so as to first of all mark it that it's for you, and second of all just give you this hopeless feeling that, you know, you're going to be tracked, you're going to be harassed any place you go, anytime you leave your home. That's the whole point of it. Okay, got a police officer in the middle of the street. And here he is again. Same one. And here he is again. Check out this gang stalker playing here. Okay, so I got a letter here from a guy named Zalatro, is what he's calling himself. I think he wants to stay anonymous, and he's from the Netherlands. And so I read it, and it's another witness of gang stalking, and you know, proving that we're getting this all over the world. It's not just where I'm at, of course. It's all over. I mean, I think I've gotten a letter or email or message from at least somebody from almost every single nation. I haven't heard from Russia or China yet. I mean, as far as major nations go, but I mean, you know, almost all countries in Europe, Italy, France, you know, you get a lot of it. And anyway, this guy says that he has everything like F-16 fighter jets circling around, black helicopters, you name it, because he uploaded a Reptilian shapeshifter movie, and so you know, you are going to get that resistance. That's the risk you take. But after everything I've seen, I'd rather be a TI than somebody who was a friend of Satan's kingdom enough that he didn't bother with you. And I think that's going to be the difference when they ask you, well, you know, I did everything like a Christian. How come I'm not being able to enter the city? It's because you were friends enough with Satan's kingdom that he didn't bother with you. I think that's the issue. And so he tells me a lot of things here, and what I would just say to you, Zalatro, is that, you know, I hear you, buddy, and well, all I can tell you is that, you know, it's a fight. You know, God said that you know, the hallmark basically is that we're going to be persecuted, and that persecution I think comes in the form of this gang stalking in this current end time, and it could come in other forms, but basically it's demonic harassment. Satan harassing you, minimizing you, torturing you, because he knows he's got a short time, and he's got to do everything he can to try to subdue anybody who is not part of his world economy regime of you know, evil people that love his wicked empire. So you know, you're doing the right thing. I mean, consider yourself lucky, and also consider yourself lucky you've still got a home, and enjoy it while you can, because you know, if Satan wants to fight you hard enough, he might find a way to take it away. So if you end up like me, then you won't like what happens. I'm sorry, am I in your way? Oh, I'm sorry about that. I thought it was me. Sorry. So anyways, Elatro, I just want to say that I feel for you, buddy, and it's a situation where, you know, you got to be glad that, you know, you discovered the truth now, because you see a lot of people who haven't had this awakening to what our society really is are going to be shocked when the real crap hits the fan, and they see this satanic force that's behind everything. And but we're being alerted to it early, so that, you know, we can become acclimated to the fact that nothing is like what we've seen. You can't live, you know, a comfortable, happy-go-lucky life. You know, it's a situation that is a desperate, dire battle for those who have a hope to make it into the kingdom, because we know what, many are called but few are chosen. That means a small number of people out of those that you see walking around are going to make it out. So consider yourself lucky to be on the fight and being persecuted for it. Thank you for your letter. That security guard passed by right as I exited. Security guard passed by right as I entered got into the car. Okay, so I got two security pass-bys, one as I exited, and then another one as I got in my car. Buzz here. See this guy right here? Direct overhead. See where I'm standing? Well, looks like storms are brewing. Reptoids. 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 Alright, so you got this guy as soon as I come outside. Alright, so we got Buzz here. Here he comes. I was thinking about because I just told somebody, look, he's going to turn. So as to pass right overhead. Exiting the vehicle, Buzz. Just right as I come outside. This guy right here. And they do that. You see, notice how the sound matches as I'm leaving. And what that is a gang stalking buzz. You see, it may seem like a random plane going by, okay? But in fact, that is not the case. It is a gang stalking plane that is used as a psychological warfare. When you come and go places, an aircraft will fly over, and believe it or not, that might be a hologram and projected sound.
Let me express self-esteem.
So we have an economy of creatures that are living off of our flesh, literally. Actually eat our flesh. That's why they want us to breed. That's why they want us to die quickly. Okay, so we got a Buzz here, got this guy here. pack of fries here. September 25th, 10:38 a.m. 2016. Okay, and approaching my car flyover. See this guy here? He knows that I can see and hear. And what this is, friends, is a harassment helicopter. It's designed to psychologically warfare so that you feel like you can't go anywhere without them doing this form of harassment known as gang stalking. September 27th, 2:06 p.m. 2016. Alright, got our first gang stalking plane customer of the day. Direct overhead. Direct overhead, September 30th, 1:54. Right as I was walking this way, along here, right here, you see it just flew right overhead like that, see? See how it's kind of has the effect of being directed at you. Driving home, Buzz just pulled up. Richard Bruce here, and just wanted to update you guys on a few things. You may have noticed that recently I took down about 4 videos having to do with World War II and Adolf Hitler, and the reason I did that was because I feel that, and I don't know, but I feel that I got a message from the Lord. It came in the form of a grievous but not very long-lasting illness, in which it was so bad that I was crying out to mercy for God, asking Him what this might be about, and a fear fell on me. And as I considered, it was because of the issue of the World War II and what had happened, and with what David Irving uncovers. And I think it's extremely fascinating information, but what I realized is that God can bring you to something, and there's no way around it. There's no other way to do it than to have a situation of doing something that you're not supposed to be doing, and then be punished for it, and then learn from that experience. Reproofs of instruction are the way of life, as it says in Proverbs, and then you learn, you move on, and on to the next punishment, and so on to the next lesson. And so those things can happen. If you would like to look at that issue, I'm not saying you shouldn't. All I know is that what I felt was that God was saying to me that that's not an issue that he wants me to pursue at this time, so I'm not going to. And there's lots of other stuff for me to focus on, and if the Lord has a message for me about something like that, why, of course, that's what I'm going to do. But I apologize, I don't like to take down movies because I like to stay consistent so that everything that I upload is going to be there for people to see. But in this case, I definitely felt a fear fall upon me, and that I had to do something about it right away, and so I did. And but it's not the biggest of deals because God knows the truth about everything that happened, and we'll all eventually find out everything that we need to know. It's in the past. It's time to move on. I am glad that I learned that information, and if you do want to look into it, I obviously recommend David Irving, and to find out a lot of the stuff that they weren't telling us. And once again, it's another confirmation that we have these humongous lies that they are telling and about history, and I certainly am just so disgusted with American history and books and movies and stuff. I mean, these movies and documentaries and stuff never saw a tiny piece of these huge pieces of information that that were there about that, and that they didn't include, and the extreme lies that were told. But it's a mixed bag, it's a mixed picture, and it's very complicated. And I don't have what it takes to do something like what David Irving does and really be a historian and look that stuff up. But and so it's hard to accurately comment on it all. So it can be complicated. And there's certainly a lot of stuff for me to look into, which I can get a little bit more of a grip around. As I'm currently working on the alien abduction thing, so that's a very complex issue, and it's definitely worth taking a look at because it's something that we all face now. Another issue is that I just wanted to say that a grand total of 45 people have contributed to my channel in the almost 4 years now that I've been doing this, and I want to thank those people tremendously. It's the only way I've been able to keep going. And I really appreciate some of the large, generous gifts that people have given me, and it's how I've lived. I mean, that and my Google check, and I've been mostly unemployed for this whole time. I mean, even before then, so I've been had a really tough time with employment. I had some part-time jobs, but about a year and a half ago I lost that, and it's been like almost nothing except for my Google check for the ads, the little ads that I run on my movies on YouTube, and then donations that you guys have given me. So like I said, if a lot more people were to give me just a small amount, just a few bucks on a PayPal, that could really count for a lot, and really help me keep jamming and keep uploading this stuff, because apparently it's something that's useful to the Lord. I get that feeling. I get that sense doing this. Maybe I'm being self-aggrandizing, but I just get that sense that it's a work that follows me. There's something about it that's needed, and I don't know how many other people are doing this with as much clarity, but I certainly am getting the hassle for it, and they must be concerned about something. So that's another sign that it's something that's real. It's something that they are concerned about, the enemy, and so it's. I think on that level it's worth it. So there's that, and we have to look forward to the coming of the Lord, which when we say soon, of course that means forever in our scale, but in relatively speaking, I think it should be soon, and I don't think it can be more than our lifetimes, at least, because I happen to think that the Lord is here in our time, and maybe even experiencing being a regular person like you and I, even though simultaneously I believe he exists in heaven, and he's what people see when they die, when they cross over a lot of times, and Jesus greets them. It's like a simultaneous, omnipresent type of situation that's totally beyond my understanding. But I think that the time is coming when the appearance will be soon. And as I've mentioned in my reports, I believe the Omega of Christ, that is the the female half. God created man in his image. Male and female created he him. That means God's image is male and female. And we see that female person in Proverbs. And the reason I'm mentioning that is because I think that she is going to be the first tangible sign of the coming of the Son of Man, because Jesus says, I am the Alpha and Omega. He's saying, I am these two people. So he's saying, I am the woman as well, and this woman is going to show up. And we don't know what she's going to look like, but we do know from Psalm 45 that at some point she's going to be dressed in gold. And Psalm 21, which I believe also refers to her, even though it says king, but the elements match up with 45, telling us that it's the queen. He giveth him a crown of glory, a golden crown. And I think that is that may be indicating hair color, like golden blonde hair, but that's just a guess. But if you look at that long enough, you might arrive at what I arrived at about that. And so those two clues. She's going to be dressed in gold and have golden hair. So that's something to look out for. And as I mentioned, I also believe that Los Angeles is the true Babylon, the true capital city of Babylon, Satan's home nation. And also, what's interesting too is that Jeremiah 27 describes that God will give all the nations to be a servant to Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, and to his son, and to his son, and to his son. And since that king is essentially the king of the world, and God has given all the nations to serve the king of Babylon up until the end of days, which means that, and he will punish the nation that will not put themselves under the yoke of the king of Babylon. So what that means is that any nation that veers from that, perhaps that's what happened to Germany, and that was one of the things I wrote down in the notes in my last movie, is that it could have been that what happened with Germany was that somehow they saw that, they rebelled against it, and it required Satan to start the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia just to, and tell all the lies to America, just to get Germany and Adolf Hitler under control, who would rebel against Satan's evil World Bank oppression system. But God has given him to be ruler until the end of days. And so that's why they had to be terribly punished. But that's just a theory. I don't have any idea of what really happened or what it's all about. But we will have to wait for the coming of the Lord to clarify a lot of this stuff. And that person just might be a girl, and maybe young and hot looking, and we don't, think it's going to be God, but it is. So I just be very careful what you say, because according to Richard Bruce, God is showing up as a girl, and you better watch what you say.